sometimes you just have to own the fact that you don't really know what you're doing, you know? Hello, welcome to the first ever episode of the RoseGlassKnits podcast. My name is Laurel. I am a knitter and occasional spinner and very occasional crocheter coming to you from Kansas, good old Heartland. And I'm just so excited to finally be doing this. I have been a longtime consumer of knitting podcasts. I've been kind of a silent observer of the knitting community online for many years and decided, why not? I can be part of that. So we'll follow kind of the typical like podcasting thing. But first, I did want to shake my table, give you guys just a little bit of background about me. I won't bore you with it every episode or anything like that, but it's kind of nice to know who's yammering at you, right? I have been knitting since the age of 5. My grandma taught me when I was 5 years old, and it's something that I kind of picked up and put down a lot throughout my life. At some point in college, I want to say, maybe end of high school, beginning of college, really started to kind of use it a lot as my main hobby. But I really did a lot of the same projects over and over. I wasn't super focused on learning new things. So I made like a lot of hats and scarves and some blankets and things like that. It's probably been about 8 years or so since I really became serious about learning knitting as a skill. Learning how to make garments or, do things like cable knitting, lace knitting, colorwork knitting. There are so many things that you can make with knitting, and I decided I wanted to actually learn how to do it. So I've been knitting very seriously for about 8 years and have been watching knitting podcasts for, I don't know, probably about 5 years or so. I think I started watching them a little bit before the pandemic hit, and then really, of course, fell into it when the pandemic hit because we were all looking for a little human connection at that point, right? So yeah, that's kind of my basic background. And like I said, I've been kind of a silent observer of the community for a long time. I have always had this feeling of, I didn't have the right aesthetic. I wasn't knitting the right projects. I wasn't using the right colors. I didn't have the right background, like all those kinds of things. I let that stop me for a long time from, actually sitting down and filming and becoming a more active participant in the community. And I realize, as I get older, that it doesn't matter. I don't have to look a certain way, present myself a certain way, knit certain projects. I can just be myself, and hopefully that's enough for someone to connect with. And really all I want is to connect with people, inspire people a little bit. I know I love podcasts for inspiration. And hopefully if it makes one person feel like, oh, it's okay, I don't have to, knit the same things as everybody else, or it's okay if my aesthetic isn't like this beautiful palette of neutrals, which I love the knitters who have these like beautiful neutral textured kind of palettes and projects. I love that, but I don't know that will ever be me. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe a few years from now I'll look back and be like, oh, I only knit in beautiful like tones of brown or something, but I don't know. We'll get there when we get there, right? So yeah, for anybody who might feel like you don't exactly fit into what has been popular in the world of knitting online, there's always a seat here with me. I'm always happy to chat with you about knitting or any other hobbies you may have. I love reading, video games. I'm into video games. I have a dog that I love very much. I have tattoos. I love talking about tattoos. I'm maybe not the most artsy person in the world, but I love talking about anything crafty that people are enjoying. So yeah, if you're into any of that stuff, please feel free to connect with me. I, of course, like anybody who's going to post a video on YouTube, will put where to find me online. But if you look me up as RoseGlassKnits, you'll find me pretty much anywhere under that. So let's get into the actual podcast. So we'll start with what I'm wearing. So I just did all this talking about like, I don't knit what everybody else knits. You know, I'm different. I'm a different kind of girl. I'm wearing a Ranunculus by Midori Hirose, which is one of the most popular patterns on Ravelry. It's always, if you look at the like what's hot right now section, it's always in there. It's definitely been having a moment recently. I feel like I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and I had never knit it before, but I decided, why not? Let's give it a shot. So mine is knit up in Lichen and Lace. This is their sock base. It's their 80/20 merino nylon. And I picked this up at Knit One Chicago in July. I took a trip to Chicago and did not plan it this way, but happened to be there during the Chicago yarn crawl. So I only went to 3 stores because my wallet could not handle going to, I think there were like 19 stores participating, and I can't walk into a yarn store without buying something, so we only went to 3. But I picked this up at Knit One Chicago, which was the last store we checked out, and it's in the color Coral. I used not quite 2 full skeins. In fact, you can see it, there's a lot of disorganization going on behind me, but my leftover is right there. But one thing about me, I don't alternate skeins. I just don't. It's burned me a couple of times in the past, but I'm never so picky about my hand knits that it bothers me. But you will see in this top that I probably should have alternated skeins because we have a little line of demarcation where the new skein starts. So let me just kind of stand up and show you. So I have the short sleeve version, and it's pretty cropped. I might have to like boop boop insert something to actually show you because you can't see that at all. But it's pretty cropped. It works well for me though. I find that I tend to knit things pretty cropped anyway, because I have a short torso. My waist is real high. It's up there. And I really like wearing things that are high-waisted. I also really love putting my knits over dresses. So I find that cropping things works really well for me. I also find that it causes me to overbuy my yarn quite a bit, which we'll talk about that in a future episode. If anybody else ever has that problem, just know I'm here with you. I feel ya. As I mentioned, short sleeves. I've got a good amount of positive ease. I will have to go back and look at what size I knit. I don't remember off the top of my head. I do know that I went up in needle size. I think I just went up 1 US size, I think 0.5 millimeter. Again, I will have to double check. I'm a really tight knitter, so I find that I have to increase needle size and or increase the size I'm knitting to get things to fit the way I want them to. I'm a big fan of positive ease. I like to have things that are a little bit looser, a little bit flowier on me. And this worked out really well for that. So, of course, this pattern is super popular because it's quick to knit. It's got a nice open gauge. You can knit it in a bunch of different weights of yarn. So it's definitely a really nice pattern that I think, you know, if you're somebody who wants to knit a quick garment, it's a good option. You can customize it. You can make it longer. You can add long sleeves to it, all kinds of things. There's a million, not literally, but there's a lot of projects on Ravelry you can look at, get some inspiration. But yeah, it's a really nice pattern. I really enjoyed knitting it. It took me a week, like exactly 7 days from cast on to finishing it, which was amazing. I'm a really slow knitter, so anything that I can actually like whip out quickly, I'm here for it. I did make some modifications. And I made modifications that I think a lot of people have made. There is, in the pattern, you cast on a certain number of stitches and then you increase out. The yoke is knit the same for all sizes. So, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, I opted to cast on for a wider neckline, and I, instead of casting on and then increasing, I just cast on the number that you would get if you had already increased. So I didn't have to do any increasing. That was a really kind of convoluted way of saying it. I don't want to give a lot of specific numbers because it's a paid pattern. But I think in my Ravelry notes, there's a little bit more detail there. I did also skip the short row shaping in the front. I did do the short row shaping in the back. I think that that helps it fit nicely, but I opted not to do that in the front, and I really like it. I, don't necessarily think that I would want the front neckline to sit up much higher than it already does. I like that it's more of an open neckline. I think that that works really well on me. I'm not always a huge fan of things that sit really closely to my neck. But yeah, other than that, I think that was it. Like I said, I may have cropped it in the body just a little bit. I don't remember exactly if I knit it to the length she states or if I cropped it. I don't know. It's on Ravelry. But yeah, so that's what I'm wearing. That was very long-winded. But I really like it, and I think it's going to be a great transitional piece as we hopefully move into fall. It's still hot where I am, y'all. It's been hot. It's been hard to knit because it's been hot. Anyway, so let's get into, I don't necessarily have like finished objects to show you because this is episode 1. So I'm like, how far back do you go to show finished objects? I don't know. This is actually, I think, my most recently finished object. So I don't know, it all works out, right? But let me show you what I have been working on. So the first work in progress that I have to show you is the Cozy Autumn Socks by This Handmade Life. This is actually a free pattern on Ravelry, and there's my socks, my little DPN keeper. So you get these extra needles out of here. Okay. So this is the sock. I've done the heel, I've done the gusset, I am now just onto the foot. This is sock number 1. But you can kind of see it's got this really pretty sort of ribbed, cabled detailing all the way around the sock, and then it'll continue on the top of the foot. The bottom of the foot is just knit in plain stockinette. I cast on the 72 stitch size because I want them to be kind of big, slouchy, comfy socks. And I am knitting these in, this is a Farmer's Daughter fiber. This was one of their colorways from their sock squad. I think it might have been last year, I'm not positive. The color is called To Medicine, and it is a sport weight sock yarn. And you can kind of see it's got all these gorgeous like fall colors. There's greens, there's kind of these mauvey purpley colors, some orangey golds, and then there are also some specks you can kind of see here of like hot pink, which is really fun. So yes, I am knitting these up. They go pretty quickly. The pattern is pretty easy to follow. It's charted. And I think I already mentioned, but it's a free pattern on Ravelry. I will link it down below if you're looking for some nice kind of fall textured socks. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. And then my other project that I have been working on, you're gonna see that I've got a color scheme going on, and that the socks did not fit into that color scheme. So I am working on the Hawthorne Tank by Boylan Knits, Caitlin Hunter. Try to figure out how to hold it up for you because I have not done the straps yet. So this is the tank. I'm sure you guys have probably seen this on social media, but it's just this gorgeous summer tank with this beautiful lace pattern down the front and the back. It's just a really pretty motif. I am knitting this in Ritual Dye's Undine. I don't know how to pronounce it. Undine, I would assume. In the colorway Summer Peach, which is a cotton linen blend. I ordered it directly from their shop and I love it. I'm not always a huge fan of knitting with plant-based materials. I find that they can be really hard on my hands. I think a lot of people have that experience. This one has not bothered me at all. So I am knitting, I believe, a size 6, a 2XL, whatever that is. And I think it's gonna be a little bit on the bigger side, which is fine. I love my clothes oversized, love a lot of positive ease. But yeah, so we're making good progress. I think I probably only have one more repeat of the lace and then the ribbing at the bottom and then the straps. So hopefully this will be done sooner rather than later, but you can kind of tell I've been really into my like peachy moments here. And I know like I am really at the tail end of summer knitting. I was hoping to get it done sooner, but like I said, I'm a slow knitter, so here we are. But hopefully the next time you guys see this, it will be a finished object. And again, the yarn just kind of in the cake. It's really pretty. It's got a little bit of that variegation. You can kind of see some darker bits and some lighter bits. It's a little bit of a mess, don't judge. But I really like it, and I am excited to see how it ends up as the garment after it's blocked. I really love anything linen. I'm a big fan, so I'm excited to have that in my wardrobe. Yeah, so those are really kind of the only things that I've been working on in terms of knitting. I will talk about spinning here in a little bit, but now let's talk about what I want to make. As you can see behind me, I have a lot of yarn, and a good portion of the yarn, honestly, in my, like, get out of the way, Laurel, from about here over, this yarn is all, like, it has a plan. It knows what it's gonna be. It has a plan. This is a lot of single skeins and things that I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with, but I'll use it eventually. But I also have, you can't really see it behind me, down here, I have bags with more yarn that also has a plan. So I went through a phase where I was buying patterns and buying yarn for those patterns a lot faster than I can knit them up. So, you know, is it a problem? I don't think so. I think it's fine. But I am trying to decide what I want to cast on next. I have really bad cast-on-itis right now. Like, I just want to knit all the things. So one of the projects that I think I'm going to knit soon, my hair stuck to my face, is the Salty Days sweater by Veronica Lindberg. I know that that pattern has been really popular lately too. And I bought the yarn for it a while back. I can't remember who I saw talk about it first. Somebody had it in a podcast where they were talking about inspiration and that they really liked the pattern, and I fell in love with the texture of it and thought that it would be really great to add to my wardrobe. I've been trying to be very mindful about knitting things that I actually want to wear and not just things that I want to knit for the process, which I don't think there's anything wrong with being a process knitter. I've been a process knitter for a long time, but I have a lot of things that I've made that I just don't wear now, and I would like to be able to wear my knits more. So for the Salty Days sweater, I did pick out some yarn. I've actually swatched, which another thing that you will learn about me is I never swatch anything ever. like ever. This is the first time I've ever done a gauge swatch. So, you know, make of that what you will. I just don't. I know that I'm a tight knitter. I know I usually need to go up 1 or 2 needle sizes, unless it's an Andrea Mowry pattern. I don't know what it is about her patterns. I tend to hit gauge pretty spot on just by using her suggested needles. Don't know what it is. Everybody else, I have to go up. So, I don't know. I don't know why that is what it is, but it's fine. So, for the Salty Days sweater, I have 2 yarns that I want to hold together. And again, I'm like, I'm not like other girls. I knit with all kinds. It's the most basic yarn. It's the most basic yarn. So I have the, is it Sandness Garn Sunday. This is one of the petite knit colorways. The color is not listed on the ball band anywhere unless I'm dumb. I don't know. But it's just a basic gray. It's a very neutral, doesn't really pull warm or cool. Just a very neutral gray. I picked this up at a local yarn store that was closing last year, and was able to get it on a pretty good discount. So I bought quite a lot of it. And then I also have, my hair stuck to it, some Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color Rose Clay. You know, Knitting for Olive, super popular. Again, kind of fits into this pinky theme that I've had going on for a while. I apologize, the sun is kind of doing weird stuff on this side. I don't know. But these are the colors that I want to hold together. Here is the actual like gauge swatch that I worked up. Hopefully you can kind of see that color wise. It just comes out as kind of like this warm marled gray. I might have to insert a picture because the window is kind of doing stuff to it. But I swatched in the round using the suggested needle size. This is pre-blocking. There is a pre-block and post-block gauge, but I'm not even close. I'm not even close to hitting gauge on that. So I'm gonna have to go up probably 2 needle sizes. I'll do another gauge swatch. My second one ever for one project. And yeah, we'll kind of figure it out from there. But I do like the color combination together. I like kind of that hint of pink, but overall it's still quite neutral. Neutral and beige. The exact opposite of what I normally knit. So this is Editing Laurel just jumping in to say, I realize now that the gray yarn that I wanted to use for this pattern is fingering weight, not DK weight, which is what's called for in the pattern. It's supposed to be DK held with lace. So I don't know. I might try swatching it again just with a larger needle size, see what that fabric looks like. It might be too open. The other option would be to buy more of the gray yarn and hold that double with the mohair. Or that yarn may just be destined to become something else and I might, you know, figure something else out for the actual sweater itself. I'm still gonna make the sweater. I'm still very excited about the sweater. It just occurred to me as I'm editing this, not using the right yarn weight at all. So yeah. Okay, let's go back. Other project that I am probably going to cast on soon is the Traveler Shawl by Andrea Mowry. I actually have some hand spun yarn to knit that with. So this is the hand spun that I want to use. I know they look a little different, but these are the same fiber. It just happens to be that this hank is a little bit smaller and picked up certain colors. But there you go. Can you see it? I'm obsessed with this yarn. If you see my Instagram, you'll see that I talked about this yarn quite a bit. I'm really excited about it. So the fibers for this, I used Polworth from 2 different brands. I used Three Waters Farm Polworth in the color Interpoints, and then I used Wooden Duck from 316 Dye Works. I think it's Dye Works. Please forgive me if I got that wrong. But yeah, I really loved the colors. They had some similarities, but Interpoints was a little bit warmer, Wooden Duck was a little bit cooler. As I mentioned, I'm very new to spinning, so I wasn't really sure how the colors were going to play together, what this yarn was going to come out like. It was my first time combining two different colored braids, but I am actually really, really happy. It kind of came out with this like muted rainbow. Like there is so much color in it, but it's still kind of on the muted side. So I am going to do my traveler shawl in this yarn. I'm very excited about it. I'm just not sure when I'm going to cast it on. Like, if I didn't want to be responsible, I would cast it on today. But I know that I have other projects I need to finish, so gotta have a little restraint. But yeah, that's definitely something that will be coming up soon, for sure. Okay, so now let's talk about, because we just talked about spinning a little bit, let's talk about a little bit more when it comes to spinning. So I showed you my most recently finished yarn. I love it. I think it's great. Let's talk about what I've been working on. So the first thing is a project I've been working on my drop spindle. Here it is. This is not all of it, but it's a good representation. Can we cover my face and maybe it'll focus? It's not going to focus more than that. So this is another colorway from Three Waters Farm. This one, forgive the crinkling, is called Flowers in a Vase, and it is Falkland wool. I am doing my first sort of fractal spin on this, so I split the fiber in half, and half of it I just spun end to end, and the other half I split again in half down the middle, and this is that half. So you can kind of see it in the braid. There's a lot of pinks, grays, little touches of kind of a browny orange. It's really soft. I really like it. And then I have, this has already been spun. It's kind of hard to see. Of course, this was the darker fiber there, and you can see a little bit of the kind of pinky red poking through. And I just transferred the fiber over from my drop spindle onto a bobbin because I am going to ply it on my electric wheel, which I will show you here in a second. But yeah, so this is what I have left of the first half of the fiber. And then, as I mentioned, I've got my second half, and then I'll ply together and hopefully end up with some really pretty, kind of moody yet colorful, pretty yarn. As you can tell, I really love pinks. So that is my drop spindle project I've been working on slowly. My other big spinning project I've been working on, I have been doing on my wheel. I have an electric wheel. It's the Dreaming Robots EEW Nano 2.0, which I really like this guy. I know it's smaller, the bobbins are smaller, they hold like 2 ounces. So you do go through a fair amount of bobbins when you're spinning, but I don't know, I really like it. It's worked really well for me so far. I am hoping to get a traditional like treadle style wheel soon, but for now this has worked really well. So I am currently spinning, this is more 316 Dye Works, and this is her, I don't remember the base, but I know I have more. The Merino, Alpaca, Camel, and Silk base. It is so soft. Like, I wish that you could reach in and touch this. I have more of that same base in this really gorgeous color called Forage, which I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I saw it and knew I had to have it, so that goes up there. But yeah, this is absolutely gorgeous. This is the colorway Cinder and Smoke. It is a really gorgeous, warm, neutral, reddy brown. It's so pretty. I am, again, spinning this end to end because I'm just going to apply this braid with another braid of a different fiber. This is what it's looking like on my wheel. I don't know how people get their bobbins to be like so perfectly even. Mine are never like that until I'm done. But it is spinning up beautifully. Again, I'm gonna have to take pictures to show you a little bit better because the window is washing stuff out. But I am going to apply it with, I just took it out of the bag so that it wouldn't crinkle. This is Graham Cracker Brown in Corriedale wool from Three Waters Farm. Three Waters Farm. If I called them Three Waters Fiber earlier, that is on me. My bad. Three Waters Farm. I clearly love, love, love their stuff. But yeah, this is gorgeous. Let me figure out a nicer way to kind of hold this up so you can see it a little bit better. But it's just a gorgeous, again, kind of warm brown, and I think that it will pair beautifully with this fiber. I think it's going to make a gorgeous yarn, and I'm really excited to have it and be able to knit with it. So I don't know what that yarn is going to become. I don't spin with the intention of making any specific thing. I kind of decide later, which that makes it sound like I spin a ton. I don't. These are some of my first projects. I have one other skein of yarn that I've completed that I can show you. If everybody doesn't come tumbling down on me. Okay. This is my first skein of yarn. I spun this again on my electric wheel. I love it. It's so pretty. This is Stargazer fiber. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't have to remember off the top of my head. I labeled it. This is Rambouillet wool, and it came out to about a sport weight. It's definitely some thick and thin, which you can kind of see. The colorway was just called Pink and Salmon, but I absolutely love it. And I do know what this is going to become. This is going to be some color work in a sweater that I'm going to knit hopefully pretty soon. But yeah, this is like my first yarn that like is usable. My very first skein is not usable for anything. It's cute, but not going to be used in a project anytime soon, I don't think. So yeah, that is it. Like, this is all of the yarn that I've spun thus far in my spinning career. But I am still really proud of it, and I love spinning, and I managed to get a little bit in each day. Again, I'm slow with all of my crafting. I know some people whip out these like sweaters quantities so fast. That will never be me. But that's okay because I enjoy the process, and I, especially with spinning, have been very fortunate to have stuff actually kind of work out for me, which I have to credit YouTube. That's how I learned everything that I know about spinning. There is no one near me where I can go to like learn to spin. So I've just been kind of learning stuff through the internet, and so far so good. We'll see. But I have really been loving what I've been making, and I've been feeling that way about my knitting too, again, because I've been really focusing on making things that I really want in my wardrobe, things that I really want to wear. I have been not only loving the process, but then loving actually getting to put things on my body and be like, yeah, I made that. I made it. So yeah, that is everything that I have to share about knitting and spinning right now. I don't have any crochet that I'm working on. My crochet projects are pretty few and far between, so you may see them here and there. You may not. I don't know. Yeah, the last thing that I wanted to say is just to kind of set an expectation for this podcast. Because of my work, I don't think that this is something that I can do every week, just because with my work schedule, my availability to actually like sit down and film a video is not going to be like weekly. It won't line up to where I can film, you know, every Friday or whatever. So my expectation is to be able to put out episodes like this every other week. That way I have a little bit of progress to show you on my items, and yeah, I just have a little bit more to show you than I would if I tried to do an episode weekly, because it would end up to where I would have to film, you know, one episode and then the next episode like 2 or 3 days later, and that doesn't show you anything. But I also am hoping to do kind of these in-between episodes talking about other things related to knitting or really anything. I am definitely redoing this room where I'm sitting. This is my office, and it's also where I keep all of my knitting stuff, as you can see, and it's a disaster in here. So I'm redoing this room soon. Hopefully I can film a little bit of that process. You know, I've got other things that I would love to talk about, some patterns that I've knit in the past that I'd love to talk about. If there's anything that you want to talk about, let me know. I can definitely make that happen. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join me in this video. I know that there are, you know, lots and lots of options when it comes to knitting podcasts that you could watch, or really just anything that you could consume on the internet. And I'm glad that you took a minute to spend with me. I'm gonna stop yammering now, and I will see you next time.